guys, and welcome. So I am super excited to share with you ways to use lemon, so citrus, to create a natural home, and not only to create a natural home, but different ways that you can preserve lemon. And many of the ways you actually are going to be able to preserve both parts of the lemon, including the peel and the juice. Because I gotta tell you, there is nothing more frugal than being able to purchase something when it is low, so when it's at the best possible cost, and then being able to preserve that to use it for all year round, so that when those prices go high, you're not having to pay those prices, but that you still have the item. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and specifically with lemon. So one of the great things is citrus right now, this time of year, even if you live in the northern states, because I am up in Washington State, Pacific Northwest girl, and I cannot grow citrus here. This winter we have been down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees Fahrenheit. We aren't there right now, but just last week we were. So citrus trees require warmer weather. So this is not an item that I can grow on my homestead very easily, not really at all. I would have to bring it indoors and I wouldn't be able to get very much. So knowing when produce in your area is at its best price and when it's in season is key, especially for things that you can't grow yourself. So lemon right now, citrus, limes, oranges, all those wonderful things, they are in season. So most of your stores will have them. I've been able to get some big bags at Costco. So if you belong to any warehouses or that kind of, but even just the regular grocery store, you can get citrus right now for about the best price, and it's the freshest because it's in season and it's being shipped. So now's the time to grab your citrus if you haven't. So one of the best things that I love about citrus is we can use the peel and the inside. So we kind of get double duty, so to speak, from our citrus that we don't get that so much with other fruits and vegetables. So one of the first things that I'm going to share with you, and this is probably the easiest thing, is if you buy, which I always buy extra citrus because I use the juice and the zest when I'm making homemade jams and jellies as pectin sources throughout the year. One of the easiest ways when you buy citrus that I use if I'm in a hurry and I don't have time to preserve it at that moment is to keep it whole and just put it in the freezer whole. So I just take lemons and I will line, the shelves that you have in your freezer drawer. I will just line my freezer with the lemons whole, and then I will take them out when I need them, let them thaw on the counter in the fridge for an hour or two. And the great thing about fruit, and it's true with citrus, is when it's frozen, it helps to break down some of the cell walls inside when it thaws back out, and then it juices easier. So I can usually get more juice out of frozen berries and citrus. So that's one of my best and quickest tips if you're in a hurry to preserve your lemons. So that works with limes too. So I do that with my limes as well. But one of the next things that we do is most of us, if we're going to be having the lemon, is we like to use the juice, right? So these are some lemons that I juiced yesterday to make some lemon water with. So if you've got your peels that you've been doing for juicing, one of the easiest and simplest things to do is to take a wide mouth glass canning jar. Wide mouth is just because it's easier to get them in and out. And just place them all in your canning jar, and you can add more to it. If you've just got a few, then you can start with that. And then what we're going to do is vinegar. So this is just regular old white vinegar. We're going to make citrus cleaner. Now the beauty of this is because a lot of people aren't too fond of just the plain old smell of vinegar. So if we're using it for cleaning purposes, which I love to use vinegar, it's a very frugal and natural homemade all-purpose cleaner and window cleaner that I use. You're just going to pour it on top of vinegar so that the lemon peels are completely submerged. And you can do this with oranges, you can do these with limes, you can do a mixture if you want to make a citrus cleaner. That's totally fine too. So I'm just going to kind of poke those down there. And this is not as important for me to actually have them totally down there like with a weight. So you can just kind of poke them back down there. I'm actually going to slice some more up so I can add to this. So you'll put a lid on that and you're going to let it set. Now the longer it sets, the more of the lemon oil will actually get into the vinegar, and lemon oil and orange oil are great cleaning products. They help cut through grease better, which is why I like to add them to my homemade citrus cleaners. So this one, I have to laugh. I found this at the back of my cupboard from this summer, you guys. So we're talking like 6 months this bad boy has been seeping. Well, the great thing about that is I've never actually let one sit that long because I usually need to use it before that. It was shoved in the back of the pantry. And it's almost all lemon. I cannot smell. I so wish you guys could smell this. I can't smell any of the vinegar. Now, I don't mind the scent of vinegar. And when you're cleaning with vinegar, as soon as the vinegar evaporates or it dries, the smell leaves. So it's not like your house is going to smell like you've doused it with vinegar forever. But this smells totally like lemon. So the longer you can let it seep, the stronger it's going to be. So I highly recommend going longer if you can, but I've done it as just 4 weeks time. I've strained it as well, and you still get some of the lemon, and you're gonna get those citrus oils. So what I do to strain it is, this is just a stainless steel strainer. It's fairly close weave because you don't want, especially if you're using this in a spray bottle on windows and stuff, is you don't want a lot of the pulp left in there. We want to get that all strained out. Otherwise, you'll have little bits of lemon stuck on your glass, and nobody wants that. So I'm going to actually line this one. I've got some cheesecloth here. So I'm going to line this so that it's a little bit finer and catches some more of those small particles when I pour it through. So we're just going to pour this through, and look at those lemons. Now they have dissolved a little. They're not as bright as these ones. See, you can see the difference there. But these have been sitting for 6 months. There's no mold. Vinegar is a great preservative. And the vinegar, this was white vinegar when I poured it in, it's really taken on the lemony color, which is really awesome. And it just, like I said, it smells super good. You can also add herbs in there if you want to. You can do infused vinegar with some herbs. But so there, and I'm going to let it finish straining through that last little bit. So I've got a bunch of lemon cleaner now, totally natural. You could drink it. You could use it in food. You can use it in cooking as flavoring, but it also makes a great cleaner. So when I'm using it as a cleaner, I will put it in a spray bottle, and I usually do 2 parts water to 1 part vinegar. Lemon vinegar, citrus vinegar. You're going to want to dilute it down a little bit. And then I use that as my all-purpose cleaner. So I use it on countertops. I use it on toilets. I use it on windows. I'll use it on tough spots on the floor. I just use it everywhere when I'm cleaning. So really, really cheap way to make all natural cleaner. So the next one that we're going to do is, of course, one of the things that I love about buying lemons is the lemon juice, right? And I have this, I got this at, I think it was Goodwill or a thrift store. These are just those old-fashioned vintage glass juicers, and I love this thing. I use it all the time for all of my citrus. So I just cut mine in half. Now, one thing with lemons, so here's the scoop. Lemons are not on the dirty dozen list, meaning they're not the top 12 or even 15 foods that are most heavily sprayed with pesticides. Now, if I'm just juicing them and I'm not using the outside for food products, so if I'm not using the zest in something I'm baking or in jam or jelly making, then I'm not as concerned about purchasing organic, because the spray, if they're not sprayed heavily throughout the growing, most of the time what happens is they're harvested and then they will spray them before they go into shipping so that they last longer. They'll spray them with like fungicides and different things like that so that they don't mold and they don't go bad during shipping and then sitting on the store shelf before you purchase it. So usually the sprays that are used are on the outside of the lemon and they don't really get through, hopefully, into the juice. So if I'm just juicing them, I'm not as concerned about purchasing organic. If I'm using the lemon peel, then I am more concerned, and I do try to purchase organic whenever I can find it. I've only got a couple of stores around me, and I say around me, they're about an hour's drive, that carry organic citrus fruit. So I try to stock up, which is what I did last week with these ones. Now, regardless if they're organic or not, but especially if they're not organic, you still want to wash them, because think of, how many people have handled these. They've been on conveyor belts, all kinds of germs. People pick them up in the store, picking which ones they like the best. So make sure that you wash them. I use actually a bottle brush that has a scrub part on it with a little bit of diluted soap, and then rinse them really well just to make sure I get all those nooks and crannies out. So that's kind of how I gauge it. These ones are organic. So one of the things that I like to do now, I'm going to be juicing these because I want to get some of the fresh juice out, but they're easier to zest when they're in their whole form. So I don't even have one of those plain zesters. That's like on my wish list. So I'm just going to be using on my handy dandy grater here, the little one. So what we're going to do is, and like if there's a little bit, like right here, this one has started to discolor. I'm not sure if the camera is going to pick that up. It started to discolor, so this needs to get used right away. So I won't zest the discolored part because I don't want to introduce that into the zest. Just do the bright, nice looking part of the peel when you're zesting it. So I'm just going to go through here and I'm going to zest this out. Now, when you're zesting it, if you're not very familiar with zesting you don't want to go down really past into the bright white part of it. That's the pith, and it's got a bitterness. So we just want to just capture the very outside, the bright yellow part. That's where your flavor is. Good concentration of the oils, and it's going to be a little bit sweeter, though. I mean, it's still tart. It's lemon. It's citrus, but we don't want to get that pith part in there. That's what creates that bitter flavor that nobody wants, right? So I'm going to go ahead and zest all of this up. And you can do this same thing. I'm using lemons, but oranges and limes, you can do this with all of your citrus fruits. So you can do combinations. I'm probably going to do this with limes coming later up in the week, but we're going to do it with the lemons today. Now, alternatively, if you didn't want to zest this, if you wanted to, because you can use the zest fresh, but I want to preserve it because I want some lemon zest all throughout the year. So I'm going to dehydrate this zest. So you could also just do that if you wanted to just strip the peel, have it be in strips. If you didn't want it to be in zest, then you could do that as well. Okay, so I've pretty much got this zest. I don't want to use, like I said, that slightly discolored area. I don't want that to be a bad flavor to it. So we've got this zest, and I always have to scrape mine out here. And I really want to get, like I said, one of those zester planers. But here is the zest from one of these lemons. So here I've got the zest. So what I'm going to do, because zest is small, and when anything is dehydrating, it shrinks up because we take the moisture content out of it, which is what creates it to be shelf stable, but it also makes it smaller. So what I like to do with my dehydrator trays, whenever I'm doing anything like herbs or zest or something that's small, is I love these mats. So these are a little woven mat. The air still flows through them, but when stuff shrinks up, it's not going to fall through the regular tray here like the zest wouldn't even sit on this because it's too wide. So these are considered, a lot of times you'll see these two people use them for fruit leather, but they work great when you're doing smaller herbs and zest like this. So I'm just going to put this on my tray here. And whenever you're dehydrating, you want to kind of try and spread it out as much as possible so that you've got even airflow around all sides of the zest. So I'm just going to kind of spread that out, and then I'll zest the rest of these off camera so you don't have to sit through me zesting them all before I put these in the dehydrator. So I have a Nesco dehydrator. I like the square trays, and I like this one because it's stackable. I can do one tray, or I can do up as many as I like. But when you're dehydrating fruits and vegetables, you want to do it at 95 degrees. So these will go in the dehydrator at 95 degrees, and I'll check them, probably take a day or so, probably like 8 to 12 hours. And so we'll check on them depending upon everything, temperature in your house and stuff. So those will go in the dehydrator later. And then you've got lemon zest. So you can add that to, of course, whenever you're baking. I love to use lemon zest when I'm baking. You can, use it too if you're making soaps and that kind of thing. You can add lemon zest to the soap. So I just like to have that dehydrated on hand. And of course, if you want to just do the peels, like I mentioned, you can do the peels. Same principle applies. You don't want very much of the pith, so you'll just want to peel off just this rind, just the outer part. And then you can use that in homemade potpourris. Then you can do it, there's so many options that you've got homemade teas, but then you'll have that lemon or orange peel, whatever it is you decide to use it with, available for you all year round at the cheapest price, which is right now. So now we're going to juice this bad boy. So I'm just going to cut through it. And here I love my little old, in fact, in my kitchen, I like my decor to be things that are functional as well. So this sets on one of my open shelves. And so it's a piece of decoration. And then when I need it, it's super quick and easy to grab. And it serves a purpose. So this one, and of course these have seeds. So you're going to want to, after you juice it, you're going to have to take your fingers, make sure your hands are washed. I washed mine right before we got started. So I've got this juiced. And so it's just going to go into my new batch here that I'm doing with my lemon vinegar for a new batch of cleaner to go. So you can just add to this. And even if it's been a few days or weeks, as you're going through your citrus, you can still add to this and keep it going. So don't, that's why I use a larger jar so that I can keep adding to it if need be, throughout the weeks and stuff while it's going. Okay, so now I'm going to get this one. There we go. He's pretty well juiced. So I just got a towel here that I'm going to put, and try not to catch my microphone cord in there. So now we're just going to take out the seeds, and I just scoop mine out with my fingers. And this is another really easy way to preserve the lemon juice just as it's pure lemon juice to use throughout the year. Not only is it great, then you can use it later for when you're making dishes that require lemon juice. But I don't know about you, but how many of you guys like to have lemon flavored water? Because I don't drink soda pop, I don't drink sugary things, and I'm actually off of coffee right now. So if you get tired of just chugging plain old water all day, it's nice to have a flavor in there, and lemon juice has got some great properties to it. And so I like to add lemon juice to my water. Anybody else? Am I alone in that? So one of the things that's great is this is an ice cube tray. So this is the juice of 1 lemon, and I like to measure out how many cubes this will take because you can freeze yours. So I'm going to freeze this lemon juice, and I juice 1 lemon at a time so that you can gauge how many ice cubes is going to be the equivalent, depending upon the size of your ice cube tray, right, to 1 lemon. So for this one, it's going to be 3 ice cubes are going to be the equivalent of a lemon. And so then I can add that to drinks later. And instead of, watering it down, it's a nice way to add a little bit of flavor. Or I can just pop those out. Once they're frozen, I'll pop them out, and I'll probably just store them in a mason jar inside the freezer all there for the cubes so I can easily grab those. And then I can add them, I can put them in a cup and thaw them out if I need it to be liquid, or you can just use them as ice cubes and it adds flavor. So it's a great way, plus it preserves them forever. Yeah, lemon water, I know, I take lemons and water, and I'll add a little bit of liquid stevia, and then it's almost like lemonade. It gives feels like I'm drinking something sweet, and it's very refreshing. So that's one of the drinks that is my go-to right now, because like I mentioned, I'm not doing caffeine or sugar right now. So that's a great way to have a little bit of fun with your drinking water, and not make it feel like you're just drinking water all day long. I like to use glass whenever possible with citrus, just because citrus is acidic, and so I try to use glass as much as possible. This is a plastic ice cube tray, but they're not going to be in there very long. They're only going to be in there long enough to freeze, and then I'm going to transfer them. So I'm okay with them being like that as far as the lemons go. So that is some of my best tips. So have an awesome day, and I will see you soon. I hope you enjoyed that, and I want to extend a special invitation to invite you to grab your free copy of my Ultimate Home Food Preservation Guide. You can go to melissaknorris.com/preservation guide, and I got the link for you. And it shows you 6 different ways to preserve food at home, over 135 resources. It'll help you pick the right equipment, which is best for you and where you're at right now. Root cellaring techniques, how to use oil and alcohol to preserve food at home. And of course, one of my favorites involves canning. We'll be talking about water bath and pressure canning, how to stay safe with both of those, recipes, tutorials, and it's all waiting for you to begin preserving your food at home to build your self-sufficiency, save a ton of money, and be healthy by knowing exactly what is in your food. So what are you waiting for? Go grab your free copy right now.